Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed is saying, "I will not let go of Assab." The Prime Minister, who has said he will not compromise on the Assab issue for the past 6 years, said that Assab was taken without legal or legitimate decision, and that Ethiopia does not want to go to war with Eritrea. But if it does, the outcome is known, as they have built a reliable force. It is recalled that Prime Minister Abiy accused the Eritrean government of treachery on the Assab issue. After repairing the road to Assab, he stated that the port has a problem, and that they arranged for a mutual friendly country to bring a generator and a crane to Eritrea as aid. When they arrived at Assab port, the Eritrean government refused and sent them back. That is when they realized that the situation was hopeless. There was no interest in having the road repaired. Like Sudan and Djibouti, Ethiopia gives Eritrea direct electrical power. When they suggested they shouldn't use generators, they were told, "Wait, let us think about it." When they proposed using the Assab port through a give-and-take arrangement, there was no good response from Eritrea, the Prime Minister said. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed seems to prefer the ports of other countries over Djibouti. For this, Prime Minister Abiy has an additional idea. Let's look at the distance between Addis Ababa and the surrounding ports. For example, from Addis Ababa to neighboring Kenya's port, the distance is 1844 kilometers. From Addis Ababa to neighboring Sudan's Port Sudan, there is a distance of 1696 kilometers. From Addis Ababa to neighboring Somalia's port of Kismayo, there is a distance of 520 kilometers. From Addis Ababa to Somaliland's port of Berbera, there is a distance of 943 kilometers. The distance from Addis Ababa to neighboring Djibouti is 910 kilometers. However, the distance to neighboring Eritrea is only 624 kilometers. Since the port of Djibouti is managed by a Dubai company with constantly increasing and changing tariffs, and because Ethiopia has to wait for Djibouti's approval to import anything, it is impossible to rely solely on them. On the other hand, Cairo, which watches over the issue with a watchful eye, and its friendly Arab countries do not want Ethiopia to achieve stability and prosperity, are conspiring together. Although EPRDF leaders boast that a landlocked country can be great, landlocked nations like Austria, Switzerland, and Luxembourg became rich, not great, by relying on the prosperity and trade partnerships of their neighbors, which Ethiopia does not have. The Red Sea is the border of Afar. Even our camels know the Ethiopian flag, which was a speech given by the esteemed Sultan Ali Mira about the Red Sea. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed is also raising questions about Eritrea's independence. This question is about how the port of Assab, which belongs to Eritrea, was handed over to Eritrea, stating that sufficient evidence was not found, a referendum was not held, and there are unresolved issues, he was heard saying. Prime Minister Abiy said that when peace was established between Ethiopia and Eritrea, he first traveled to Asmara, and later when the Eritrean president came to Ethiopia, the first forum was held in Millennium Hall. He said that if people didn't hear the live broadcast with the large crowd, they should go to YouTube now and listen. He added that the first meeting was about Assab, and it was told to the people clearly in his presence. He was heard saying that after visiting Asmara, he told the president, and he went to Assab, and they stood by the sea and talked about the port, urging them to check. This happened inside Eritrea. He was also heard saying that he clearly laid out the issue of geopolitics in the Metamer Synergy Generation book and sent it to Eritrean officials as a gift. It is not a secret, they know about it. He sent it to all of them, but the Eritrean government dragged the issue out and committed a betrayal at the last moment. It is not just Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, but other scholars are also raising strong questions about the Assab issue. Dr. Jacob Hailemariam, the author of the book Assab, Who Owns You, is a primary advocate for the ownership of Assab. The author stated that when the decision of the Ethiopia-Eritrea Border Commission was reviewed, the Algiers Agreement, in which both Habesha brothers were seen at odds, contained numerous errors. When the countries appointed representatives for the negotiation, 11 of Ethiopia's representatives were foreign nationals who had been paid a significant amount of money. Ethiopia, by the way, spent $9 million on the negotiation, which prevented the representatives from arguing for Ethiopia's interests. The fact that the process, which gave Eritrea the sea outlet, Erob, Sarona, parts of Afar, and other Ethiopian territories, was completed in 285 days, made the timeline questionable. On the other hand, the country where the negotiations took place, Algeria, had supported Eritrea's secession from the start. Furthermore, the chief negotiator, Egyptian Minister Abdelaziz Bouteflika, who was the current chairman of the Organization of African Unity (OAU) at the time, had worked for Eritrea's secession when he was his country's foreign minister. They even attempted to have the OAU removed from Ethiopia but failed. The book Assab, Who Owns You, states that the judges were not only forced to use outdated treaties for the decision, but the substance of the dispute, especially Ethiopia's claim to the port, was barely heard. The EPRDF government's agreement to nullify this situation and use the repealed Ethiopian-Italian treaties in the Algiers Agreement meant that, instead of confirming our port ownership, the border demarcation divided churches, cemeteries, and even a single school into two. Describing this, Dr. Jacob said that it was either a mistake or, worse, a betrayal. In his book Assab, Who Owns You, Dr. Jacob Hailemariam stated that it takes 24 years for a country with a port to double its economy, whereas it takes a landlocked country 36 years to double its economy. He pointed out in his book that being landlocked can reduce a country's foreign trade volume by 3% to 43%. Many describe the path by which Ethiopia went from being a port owner to landlocked as not only regrettable but also a burning issue that causes severe pain. According to scholars, the process by which Ethiopia lost Assab followed a malicious path, with every action deliberately planned to weaken Ethiopia. Many scholars have written about these political conspiracies, referencing history. Dr. Jacob Hailemariam detailed the path by which Ethiopia lost its final access to the sea in his book Assab, Who Owns You. After Eritrea seceded from Ethiopia by military force in 1991, it would not be an exaggeration to say that no other national issue has caused as much anger and sadness in the country as the closure of Ethiopia's sea outlet and inlet. Ethiopia's sea blockade is considered by many to be a worse injustice than the Italian invasions at Adwa or Maichu, which our fathers and grandfathers, thanks to them, overcame victoriously. Echoing this sentiment, Dr. Akhlaq Birara wrote that the handover of Ethiopia's sea outlet, Assab, to the Eritrean government is the worst and most unacceptable of all EPRDF policies. Major General Abiy Ahmed, the former commander of the Ethiopian Air Force, stated that the plunder of Ethiopian wealth that occurred in the port of Assab alone prompted him to raise the port issue. He added that the reason why TPLF-EPRDF took this stance remains a mystery until history clarifies it, but for him, it was ignorance and lack of foresight. Sai Abraha, a former high-ranking EPRDF official and Minister of Defense, echoed a similar position, describing the EPRDF's mistake. If war was inevitable, we should have consulted our nation's scholars, not just rely on our own beliefs and narrow perspective, and devised a plan to regain access to the sea and ensured it was carried out in a way that guaranteed that outcome. The unforgettable mistake we made at the time was our stubbornness. The problem that has persisted in the organization is the tendency to boast, believing I alone am right and not attempting to listen to others' ideas, he explained. Eritrean government spokesperson Yamane Gebremeskel warned that the aggressive approach of Ethiopia's ruling Prosperity Party on the port issue could ignite war in the region. Yamane also accused Ethiopia's chief of staff of the armed forces and other high-ranking military officers of continuing to deploy military assets against Eritrea. Furthermore, he criticized Prosperity for pursuing an aggressive path by announcing plans to build a railway line connecting Ethiopia to the ports of Massawa, Assab, and Djibouti's Tadjoura port. Yamane dismissed this party's idea, stating that it has no connection whatsoever with any genuine desire for good faith or a policy of regional peace and cooperation. Let's look at what the Foreign Ministry said about the Red Sea. Ambassador Zerihun Abebe, Director General of African Affairs at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, stated that securing Ethiopia's access to the sea in a peaceful manner would benefit the region as well. Ambassador Zerihun Abebe, Director General of African Affairs at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, specifically told Gazeta Plus that securing Ethiopia's sea access in a peaceful, legal, and diplomatic way would benefit not only Ethiopia but also the region. The ambassador stated that providing a solution to Ethiopia's national sea access question means bringing peace and stability to the region, not granting a favor to Ethiopia. He said that securing this through a give-and-take approach is highly beneficial for both Ethiopia and the region. He also explained that sea access is fundamentally important for peaceful coexistence, shared development, and interconnecting the region through infrastructure. He indicated that Ethiopia wants to achieve this through a peaceful and diplomatic approach, specifically based on the principle of give and take and mutual benefit.